In the headlines, MPP affirms Freddie Blay as acting chairman of the party. Controller and Accountant General's Department withholds salaries of government employees without SNIT numbers. And Uganda's Electoral Commission approves President Yoweri Museveni's bid to extend his rule. Hello, good evening, and many thanks for joining us. This is News Hour, coming to you live on your all-news channel, GBC24 and GTV. My name is Akmene Avo Ajaja. And I am Shirley Annan. And look at the stories now in detail. The MPP today held two meetings peacefully. The National Executive Committee and the National Council of Elders met at the party's headquarters to decide on the way forward for the party. They affirmed the position of Freddie Blay as the acting chairman of the party until further notice. On the voters register, the party says it sticks to its position that the country must have a new voters register for the 2016 elections, since the Electoral Commission has refused to investigate the evidence backing that call. We'll bring you details of that story later in this bulletin. Let's do some other stories now. The Commonwealth Parliamentary Speakers and Presiding Officers Conference began in Accra yesterday. Ghana's Speaker, Mr. Do Ajaho, told his colleagues to be moral flag bearers of the institution. According to Mr. Ajaho, it is by sharing best practices as lawmakers and working only in the interest of the people that the institution would attain respect and relevance in governance systems. The conference was opened by President John Mahama. Napoleon Atikito with this report.
The Commonwealth Speakers and Presiding Officers Conference of the Africa region has representation from countries which have the British Crown as their heritage and those admitted into the group, though without colonial bonds with Britain. There were parliamentary speakers or deputy speakers from Lesotho, the Seychelles, South Africa, Uganda, Namibia, Zambia, Cameroon, Kenya, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and Ghana, with President John Mahama in attendance at its 15th edition. The event thrust the legislature into the spotlight concerning whether that institution is up to scratch in the scheme of work. Are lawmakers enacting the relevant laws, properly serving the interests of their constituencies, and demanding accountability across the country? Legislatures have been called into question many times. Lawmakers only vote on party lines, but come together in the common pursuit of welfare needs. Lawmakers who are appointed into the executive arm of government also sometimes find themselves in a dilemma, compromised. The speakers and presiding officers were most conspicuous in the frame at this event as representing officers which by their conduct can command public confidence in the institutions they head. Ghana's Speaker Do Ajaho and the Vice President of the Nigerian Senate, Ike Ikwemeradu, were among those who spoke at the conference.
Our citizenry expects us to create convenient ambience for political forces to keep the channels of dialogue open. As leaders of a representative institution, there is a rising tide of expectation by our citizens that we could steer our legislatures from disappointments and regression in a culture of representative democracy.
It does appear to me that the greatest threat to the legislature in Africa, and by direct extension, the confidence of the citizenry in the legislature, is undue external interference in the internal affairs of our parliaments. Citizens lose confidence in the parliament when the parliamentary leadership is imposed. The logic is straight because he who pays the piper dictates the tone. Therefore, by all democratic and legitimate means possible, we must collectively work to entrench the independence of the legislature, especially in presidential democracies in Commonwealth Africa.
President John Mahama dug into history, referring to military coups and how parliaments suffered when constitutions were aborted. The Ghanaian leader noted that the old order in Africa has given way to entrenched democracy.
I consider this a true prescription of the transformation we require in Africa. We've come a long way from the period of military dictatorships, but Africa's democracies are still fragile, as we have seen in a few countries that have seen an interruption of constitutional governance lately. Our public institutions are still typically weak and perceived as lacking in integrity. It is necessary for us to work together to strengthen these institutions, improve public sector productivity, and change the negative public perception.
Currently, the Commonwealth Speakers and Presiding Officers Conference is a charity organization. The conference made an appeal that at the next Heads of State meeting in Malta, it will be made international with diplomatic outreaches. Napoleon Atukitu reporting.
Following the expiration of a directive given in February this year, the Controller and Accountant General's Department has withheld the salaries of 3,794 government employees who do not have social security numbers. The department says the employees will not receive their salaries from October ending until they submit their social security numbers and justify their delay in the submission of their numbers. The Public Relations Officer of the Controller and Accountant General's Department, Mr. Robert Kuju, spoke to us earlier about the issue.
Employees should be reminded that Social Security Fund number is a basic requirement in the payment of salaries today. So if you do not find your Social Security number on your payslip, you should just submit it for insertion to be done, and the issue is ended in February. All government employees whose Social Security Fund numbers were not being seen on their payslips were requested to submit the numbers to their personnel processing sections. Other than that, their salaries would not be paid. At that time, over 27,000 of these workers were affected. This continued until the end of September. What we realized that about 3,000 plus of these workers have still not submitted their Social Security Fund numbers. So we issued a release that all those who had not received submitted their numbers would have their salaries henceforth blocked.
A renewable energy fair is underway in Accra, organized by the Energy Commission. It is a platform to discuss the renewable energy sector in Ghana. The event also offers industry players the opportunity to showcase their products and services.
Due to the erratic power supply in recent years, there has been calls to look for alternatives so that the pressure on the national grid can be reduced. The first Ghana Renewable Energy Fair by the Energy Commission is, among other things, to educate and inform the general public, government agencies and businesses on the opportunities available in the sector and the benefits to be gained from adopting renewable energy. It is also to unlock the potential for the development and deployment of renewable energy and increase the level of understanding of renewable energy technologies. The fair is being organized alongside the West African Clean Energy and Environment Exhibition and Conference of the German Trade Delegation. The West African Clean Energy and Environment Exhibition and Conference, which is in its fourth year, also provides a platform for exhibitors to showcase their products and services related to the environment sustainable development. The board chairman of the Energy Commission, Dr. Kwame Ampofu, said as part of its mandate, the Commission sponsored the passage of the Renewable Energy Act 2011, Act 832, to provide the legal framework required to allow renewable energy play a significant role in meeting Ghana's energy needs.
Ghana is well endowed with solar energy resources, receiving daily solar irradiation of between 4 and 6 kilowatt hours per square meter. It is prudent to seek to develop those sources of energy that are indigenous, freely available, and self-replenishing.
The German ambassador to Ghana said the growing energy needs of a rapidly developing country like Ghana cannot be covered by fossil fuels alone, and there is the need to look for alternative energy in solar, wind, biomass and recycling of waste.
Through the renewable energy program, the German government through KfW is supporting the Volta River Authority with 20.8 million euro to develop a 12 megawatt pilot photovoltaic system in the Upper West region of Ghana.
Power Minister Dr. Kwabena Donkor said government has already completed a number of renewable energy projects, including the Volta River Authority's 2.5 megawatt grid-connected solar PV system at Navrongo in 2013 and the 20 megawatt solar plant constructed by a private power investor in the central region.
The Volta River Authority is further undertaking feasibility studies to add 12 megawatts grid-connected solar PV in the Upper West region, and is also undertaking feasibility studies on a 75 megawatt wind park along the eastern corridor of the Greater Accra region to generate electricity from wind. And a number of private independent power producers are also working on several wind, solar, and waste-to-energy projects, including the Ayetepa 150 megawatt wind farm.
The fair, which will run from the 3rd to the 5th of November at the Accra International Conference Center, is under the theme Renewable Energy Technology for Sustainable Development.
An 816 square meter alley pavement constructed in Gamashi to upgrade the local slums has been inaugurated. The project was implemented under the Participatory Slum Upgrading Program with support from the UN Habitat and funded by the European Union.
Launched in 2008, the Participatory Slum Upgrading Program, PSUP, is a joint effort of the African, Caribbean and Pacific ACP countries, the European Commission and UN Habitat. So far, the program has reached out to 38 ACP countries and 160 cities and has provided necessary enabling framework for improving the lives of at least 2 million slum dwellers. Member states have joined PSUP as a global platform to address the problem of slums and learn from each other's efforts. According to the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, October 31 is used to promote better urban future, and that the ministry, in collaboration with the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, clamours the World Habitat Day with a deba with emphasis on providing public spaces such as walkways, alley pavements, road right of ways and markets. The inauguration of the alley pavement was spread across Otublohum, Akotolante and Mangmona. A paved alley means easier access to places, an end to standing water, and a reduction or elimination of backyard flooding in the slums. The program coordinator for PSUP, Neteko Tego, said the project is being piloted in the Accra metropolitan area, specifically in Gamashi, and it is to be replicated across all cities in the country after the validation of its slum policy. The Deputy Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, Ne Lante Vanderpoy, cautioned residents not to encroach on the pavement with unapproved structures.
Noni wafio ne ke wale no kwamo ni wafe ne yo manye ne ke gbe ne nyumoke hamine alo heni nyumoke hamine anonya nyumoke womine manye magbula shika noni fe noni akefe ne keba ni wakefe no le.
Officials say phase 1 of the project was on profiling of slum situation in the metropolitan area. Under phase 2, the community identified some projects to be undertaken, including improvement in waste collection and the improvement of many alleys in the communities.
The National Lottery Authority (NLA) and sole regulator and operator of Lotto and Lottery in Ghana has re-engaged Simnet Ghana Limited to provide NLA with online lottery services. Simnet would operate alongside the existing online lottery services provider services.
A statement signed by the Director General of the NLA, Brigadier General Martin Ahiaglo retired, says the re-engagement of Simnet will broaden the retailer penetration throughout the country and accord its valued patrons visibility and access to NLA's point-of-sale terminals. Repair and swapping centers will be established in all NLA regional and district offices, as well as selected markets to ensure proximity of services to the local marketing companies.
The statement further notes that new point-of-sales terminals have been procured and old ones will be replaced to boost operations. Lottery winners can also have their tickets liquidated within 24 hours after the draw. NLA has also introduced Soccer Cash and Mobile 590 to ensure improved access to all its services.
The authority therefore entreats the public to patronize only NLA lottery products and/or games and contact the NLA regional managers to seek redress to all their queries.
You're watching News Hour on GBC24 and GTV. We have business coming up shortly. Please stay with us.
Good evening, let's do business. My name is Esther Adu. The Finance Ministry is currently engaging experts and players in the sector on the new draft Public Finance Management Bill, PFM, in Accra. The draft will support the government's public financial management systems and controls to enable them to function as tools for improved fiscal management and budgetary control. The Finance Minister, Mr. Sektekpe, said when passed into law, the PFM bill will ensure financial consolidation, robust microeconomies, and fiscal framework to anchor fiscal policies.
The new Public Financial Management Bill will consolidate all the financial management laws of the country since the 1970s and will as well replace the Financial Administration Act of 2003. The new Public Financial Management Draft will, among other things, focus on allocation of funds, accounting and reporting, cash flow management, asset management, debt management, internal controls, procurement and financial statements. The draft bill will also enable the government to make informed decisions on the allocation of its scarce financial resources, and will ensure that financial plans are implemented according to government decisions and expectations. The steering committee meeting with the players was to give them the opportunity to make their input before the draft is sent to cabinet and forwarded to Parliament for consideration. It drew participants from the various ministries and agencies in the country. The Finance Minister, Mr. Seth Tekpe, said the new draft bill will ensure effective long-term financing for the country's budget.
There is a wider dimension in two respects, which is effective planning of our public finances, particularly long-term planning and how to finance them efficiently. There is the issue, therefore, of the ministry's relationship, with institutions such as NDPC, as we look to long-term finance for infrastructure development. And this is where a very critical element of this bill is very important, which is debt management.
He said it will also help the government to deal with public debt management and preparation of the financial statements.
To make sure that we have the alignment which we started with the central bank on the using the chart of accounts, in order that we can move into effective cash management or treasury, management, which is part of the PFM Phase 2 that I know. I also like to appeal to the Ghana Revenue Authority to make sure that we begin the process very actively, and tax policy is here to convey that message of beginning to work on the regulations for the various bills that Parliament has passed into act.
The draft bill is expected to be forwarded to Cabinet by the end of this month and forwarded to Parliament for consideration to be passed into law before the close of 2015.
The president of the Ghana Institution of Engineers, Mr. Kweku Bwampong, says the current energy crisis in the country will only improve if the Ghana Gas Company is able to supply the Volta River Authority enough gas. Mr. Bwampong was speaking at the 2015 Engineering Excellence Awards in Accra.
The Engineers Excellence Award is one of the several programs that the Ghana Institute of Engineers has initiated to make engineering visible to society and to recognize the achievement of the local professionals. The awards are to recognize outstanding contributions that individuals and organizations have made in promoting engineering excellence and innovation for public benefit and national development. The Institute presented awards to students and members who have distinguished themselves in their fields of endeavor. The first award in the area of second cycle category went to Felix Jasmine Wilson. He used brine or seawater with carbon zinc plate to minimize power outages in the Tema Newtown SDA Basic School. The category of the tertiary award was picked by Kwesi Bwedu in Tiamwa. He researched on the use of compost from organic food waste as a potential to treat topsoil in restoring biodiversity at quarry site reclamation. The public award category was won by Mr. John Ahini Tete for producing a building guide for lightly loaded structures in disaster-prone areas in Ghana on behalf of the National Disaster Management Organization in 2011. The president of the Ghana Institute of Engineers, Mr. Kweku Bwampong, suggested some solutions to the current energy crisis.
We've realized that with climate change, we are not able to get enough water to run the turbines. And we have increased power consumption. So government is divesting. He is now going into thermal. In fact, this started in the 90s, thermal energy generation. That is a little more expensive, and it looks like we may need to pay for that to be able to enjoy that.
The CEO of the Millennium Development Authority, Owura Safo, said engineers in the country should always be made part of key policies and decisions taken about development.
About all the major engineering feats that have occurred, feats that demonstrate the ability of engineers to create and the ability of engineers to reconstruct. Therefore, if there is a need for a call to be made to any group of people, I believe that that call first and foremost must go to engineers.
One of the award winners, Kwesi Bwedu in Tiamwa, spoke to GBC24.
My project is using worms to change putrescible waste. Now I talk about putrescible waste, that's recyclable solid waste, like food waste on the market. So we use the worms to change them into organic fertilizer, and use that organic fertilizer to reclaim our mining sites, like the land that has been destroyed by the Galamsey people.
The ceremony had the theme, Engineers Rise Up and Reconstruct the Nation.
Research by the Association of Ghana Industries shows that for the third quarter of 2015, confidence in doing business in Ghana is growing. The AGI barometer shows a slight recovery from the dip experienced in the second quarter. The base figure is 100, and anything below it points to a dip in business confidence. The confidence index for the third quarter now stands at 102.3, slightly above the average. The business barometer for the third quarter of 2015 indicates that inadequate power supply, exchange rate volatility, multiplicity of taxes, and access to credit featured strongly in the critical challenges facing the industrial sector. The president of the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, Mr. James Asari Ejei, said the association is concerned about unreliable supplies by utility service providers. He thus demanded efficiency and value for money from them.
The proposed tariff review by VRA, Gridco, ECG, and Ghana Water Company Limited comes at a time that prospects for energy supply and in some cases water for the rest of the year still remain uncertain. So the question is, why do you want to review tariffs at a time that we can't see efficiency in your delivery with respect to the last time that tariffs were reviewed? Have we been able to meet the various benchmarks set as a reason for really being able to review prices.
The chief executive of the AGI, Mr. Seth Chum Akwabwa, said for the third quarter of this year, the introduction of the single window by the Ghana Revenue Authority has not been well understood by the business community. Only 47% of the business community were aware of the existence of the single window created to facilitate import and export.
Confidence level has improved quite a bit. We've moved now beyond the 100 marks, the baseline, slightly, in fact, just around the baseline. Employment levels within the next 6 months is not expected to increase. It's largely going to be the same. The third point, or the third conclusion, is that the single window system, which was recently introduced by the GRA, the awareness of it is still very minimal, but nevertheless, those who have used it feel that it's more convenient, quick way of processing, and it's also less expensive as compared to the previous system. So that is a welcome news for that single window.
The Greater Accra chairman of the AGI, Mr. Humphrey Enyimdake, said with the confidence level increasing in the third quarter of this year, the business community should take up the mantle and confront challenges facing industry in Ghana head on. The increase in confidence is the first recorded in the last 4 quarters. We go to Tamale, where the National Coordinator of Northern Rural Growth Program, Mr. Felix Darimani, has urged farmers to adopt standard procedures in the production of grains to avoid aflatoxin and increase the market value of their produce. He was addressing farmers on best grain production methods in the Savelugu-Nanton municipality of the Northern region.
The training was part of a partnership program that the Northern Rural Growth Program (NRGP) has entered into with Nestle Ghana to ensure that farmers in the Northern, Upper East, Upper West and parts of the Bunahafu regions were able to sell their grains to Nestle Ghana at competitive prices. NRGP is funded by the African Development Bank and the International Fund for Agricultural Development (IFAD) to develop the capacity of rural farmers so they can increase their yields and get access to markets through the value chain approach.
We have also established what we call district value chains committees at the district level. They work closely with the farmers, so that in the absence of the program, they can partner the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to train these farmers to ensure that produce that are sold in the market, produce that are consumed by the farmers themselves, are or have lower levels of aflatoxin or even completely free of aflatoxins.
The National Coordinator of the Northern Rural Growth Program, Mr. Felix Darimani, said through the partnership which started in 2011, 48,158 farmers have so far been trained to produce quality grains and have been selling their produce to Nestle Ghana. He said the NRGP and Nestle Ghana have a symbiotic relationship where farmers stand to benefit the most, stressing that the prices Nestle offers to the farmers are very good. He urged more farmers to meet the standard required.
Ghana has a very important vested interest in the rural communities, and that is agriculture. But agriculture is not only producing the food, it is also important to produce food which is of high quality and which is safe for your personal consumption and for the people you sell it to.
The Procurement and Agricultural Manager for Nestle Central and West Africa, Mr. Kluche Kudomo, said the organization believes in creating value in society through rural development, food nutrition and supply of safe water. He said Nestle has been buying 1,000 metric tons of maize annually from Ghanaian farmers and 300 metric tons of millet and would increase the quantum by 15% every year. Mr. Kluche said the organization has decided to purchase their produce from the local communities in Ghana because they want to increase local content and give value to their produce from the local communities in Ghana.
We will now take the interbank rates. Let's now go to the commodity board. And that was business brought to you by EcoBank, Hisense and Airtel. Have a good evening.
All News Channel GBC24 and GTV. In some more stories, the MPP today held 2 meetings peacefully. The National Executive Committee and the National Council of Elders met at the party headquarters to decide on the way forward for the party. They affirmed the position of Mr. Freddie Blay as the acting chairman of the party until further notice. On the voters register, the party says it sticks to its position that the country must have a new voters register for the 2016 elections, since the Electoral Commission has refused to investigate the evidence backing that call.
The atmosphere at the MPP headquarters was peaceful. The leadership of the party were locked up in a 4-hour meeting. The first meeting, which was held by the National Executive Committee, started at 11:30 a.m. and ended at 1:30 p.m. The second meeting, held by the National Council of Elders, followed immediately. The flag bearer of the party, Nana Akufo-Addo, and his running mate, Dr. Baumia, were present. According to the MPP, a number of issues came up for discussion, but not that of Mr. Paul Afoko.
We also talked about the 10 or so outstanding NPP primaries, which have not been done. A few of them are in court. Some of them we have to judge. The meetings took decisions on them. The meeting was also briefed about the forum on the voters register, what happened there. We were briefed by our representatives, and the meeting took a decision on the way forward for the party. The National Executive Committee reaffirmed its decision for Mr. Blay to act as the acting national chairman.
The elders entreated the membership of the party to employ the right channels in resolving their differences.
And the meeting also admonished all party supporters across the country to stick to the decisions of the party, to uphold the decisions of the party, and that the party will do what is best for everybody in this party.
On the voters register, the party said they are still sticking to their guns.
They managed to go to Kenya and to South Africa to go and conduct some inquiries there as to voter population in relation to the population and all of that. But they couldn't go to Togo, which is just next door, 1.5 hours drive. They couldn't, but they told us they've been to Kenya and they've been to South Africa, and we thought that if they had gone to Togo, it would have been much better for our case. But we'll supply them with the full register. We don't want them to rely on the register we give. We want them to go to the source and get a register and then do their comparison. It's a little difficult for us to understand that on our own, we are looking at the register in Burkina Faso and Cote d'Ivoire, trying to do work for the country, for the electoral process. It doesn't look like the Electoral Commission itself is bothered about also ensuring the integrity of the register. We thought by now the Electoral Commission should have the Burkina register and the Cote d'Ivoire and started to do the comparisons.
The party says the flag bearer will, in a month's time, announce his campaign team for the 2016 elections.
To some health stories. Without the numerous breast cancer awareness campaigns held to educate the public about the disease, how well do people handle unusual changes in their breasts? Two breast cancer survivors recount their experiences as they struggled to survive once they were caught in the web.
Breast cancer is a defining moment in a victim's life because it makes all the difference, proving fatal if not properly handled. You can prevent breast cancer at gestation level, but not when the cancer had spread above average. Often, the rural patient is worse off because of limited health facilities in that environment. Unknowingly, they begin to accept all the myths surrounding the disease. Thus, they view the signs and symptoms of breast cancer with superstition. Mausinam Adiji is a victim of this circumstance. Mausinam experienced sharp pains in her breast and later felt lumps when she self-examined it. In the course of these developments, relatives considered her condition to have been caused by her baby who constantly sucked her nipples. Mausinam was then given a herbal medication to apply to her breast. She went to the Volta River Authority Hospital in Akonsombo with a late-stage breast cancer when one of her breasts was as big as the size of a pineapple.
My breast was swelling, so I went to the hospital for treatment. Later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. As a result of the chemotherapy, my breast has reduced to its normal size.
Another breast cancer survivor, Dinah Anholu, tells us her story.
The first time I went to the hospital, I was screened and diagnosed with breast cancer. I was given medication for some time, but there was no improvement, so the affected breast was cut off.
Breast cancer is not a curse or a strange disease that has no cure. It is a medical condition which can be well treated if cases are reported early to health facilities. For GBC24, Ofeyu Adakon reporting.
Manya Jopanya in the Shai Osudoku district of the Greater Accra region is a community with many infrastructural challenges. Educational facilities here are fairly decent, but there's no health post for residents to access health care.
Manya Jopanya means people on the bank of the river. It is a small Gardangwe community in the Shai Osudoku district of the Greater Accra region. Manya Jopanya is midway between Kodiabe and Doyumu, all communities in the Shai Osudoku district. This community has a basic and a junior high school with all the needed materials for learning. However, health infrastructure remains a challenge in Manya Jopanya. No access to healthcare affects all inhabitants, but women and children suffer the most. Traveling long distances on bad roads to seek medical assistance in other communities is an everyday occurrence. GBC24 gathered that the prevalence rate of maternal mortality is relatively high in Manya Jopanya due to the lack of a health center. A resident, Rebecca Donko, recounted how she nearly died when she was in labor.
Last year, say, Omwanyambano, our Makasanso, Missumika, Mukwani Nipa, Miss Sorry, Minipa, Miss Sorry Frimo, Mibanu Ekami, Yadimiko Rich Hospital, Omkoya Mami.
Other people expressed their sentiments about the issue.
Aqualansu oyale atama ebepe taxi wa ha e di bekonu na akwalanu so every yensa te se yenya bi na so yen Fred Manya said the hospital bi wa ha
so onyimu sa
Now, Lolly, doctor, anyway, tell me, I will back and will do and be an alcohol.
For the people of Manya Jopanya, they hope that one day their concerns would be channeled to the appropriate causes. Their prayer is to see a clinic constructed in their community, and all these preventable deaths would be a thing of the past. For GBC24, Ofeyiwa Dakum reported.
We have more in this package. Please stay with us. Welcome back. In international news, Uganda's Electoral Commission has approved veteran leader Yoweri Museveni's bid to extend his 3 decades in office, kicking off campaigning for the presidential election due in early 2016. The commission also gave the green light to Museveni's ally turned rival Amama Mbabazi, a former prime minister, to run in the election. Museveni, 71, has been in power since 1986 and is one of Africa's longest ruling leaders. His critics accuse him of wanting to be president for life and of grooming his son, an army brigadier, to succeed him, charges he denies. Opposition leaders had initially planned to challenge Museveni as a coalition but were unable to unite behind a single candidate.
To Nigeria now, where oil giant Shell has been accused of making false claims about the extent of its cleanup operations in Nigeria. In a joint Amnesty International and the Center for Environment, Human Rights and Development said Shell had failed to implement UN recommendations. The report said several sites Shell claimed to have cleaned up were still polluted. Shell has said that it disagrees with the report's finding. A 2011 report by the United Nations Environment Programme found that oil spills in the Ogoniland region of southern Nigeria had contaminated drinking water, wrecked the fishing industry, and threatened the health of local people. Shell stopped drilling oil in Ogoniland in 1993 after growing unrest in the area. Earlier this year, it agreed a $84 million settlement with residents of the Bodo community in Ogoniland for 2 massive oil spills in 2008 and 2009. And that's it on the international front. We'll be back with sports shortly. Stay with us.
Good evening and updates from the world of sports. I'm Theophilus Sampa. This is in partnership with Tobinco Pharmaceuticals Limited, producers of Lunas. Let's start off from Accra, where the 4th leg of the FIFA 11 for Health program has been launched in Accra. The initiative is to train school children to keep them fit using the various football drills. The FIFA 11 for Health campaign uses football to sharpen the senses of children. It improves their knowledge, attitudes, and behavior towards vital health issues. Since its introduction ahead of the 2010 FIFA World Cup in South Africa, the initiative has gone through 3 phases. The launch of the 4th phase in Ghana kickstarts the global agenda. The program embraces the power of football and scientific research to endanger good health, particularly among young people, so that they can live life to the full. FIFA Chief Medical Officer Professor Jirol Dovrak tells us more.
It's a health awareness program to live a better life, a healthy life, so it's shaping the future generation.
The Deputy Secretary General of the Ghana Football Association, Ibrahim Sanidara, explained how Ghana was selected.
Throughout the world, all of the countries, most of them have reached the 3rd phase. Ghana is the only country in the world to have reached the 4th phase. So FIFA deems it necessary to use Ghana as the base to launch the 4th phase of the project.
The project will provide guidance to help tackle the most frequent causes of diseases such as HIV and AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, diabetes, and obesity. To Kumasi, where GH Dolphins, a swimming club in Accra, emerged the overall winners of a 2-day national swimming championship held in Kumasi. The event had 8 teams participating. 8 teams which participated in the swimming contest were Tema International School, GH Dolphins of Tema, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, University of Ghana, and Challenge from Accra. The rest were Anopa from Cape Coast, Morgan International School from Gumwa Manson in the Central Region, as well as Paraswimmers and Ombi, both from the Western Region. The competition was categorized into age groups, the under 12 and the over 13 years. The groups competed in freestyle, butterfly, medley relay, breast and backstrokes. After the 2-day event, GH Dolphins emerged winners in the under 12 boys and girls medley relay and the above 13 categories. They were presented with trophies. In the para event, Richmond SL won the gold medal. The Ashanti Regional Director of the National Sports Authority, Mr. Richard Idrisu, commended the organizers for the initiative to honor talent, especially among school children. The president of the Ghana Swimming Association, Mr. Theophilus Eziwilson, said with support from the corporate entities and individuals, they will organize more competitions to honor talent for national use.
If you are disabled, doesn't mean you can't do anything, but you can do something to surprise the able people.
Swimming appears to be gaining more recognition as Ghana tries to diversify sports and bring non-traditional disciplines into the frame. Currently, soccer and boxing are the flagships of Ghana sports. Remember to catch the concluding matches of the ongoing FIFA Under-17 World Cup on our sister station GTV Sports Plus on Thursday. That's all for sports.
Following numerous appeals to the public by GBC24 to solicit funds and support for 28-year-old Christiana Yelsana, an end-stage renal disease patient, the University of Cape Coast and its distant learning program students have together donated a check for 60,000 Ghana cedis. The money will be used to cater for the cost of kidney transplants in India. A report by Sarah Ofori.
What I spent is 24,800,000, which is very high for me. My parents, they have spent all money on me. All money that I was having, I've spent all. So now I don't have anything again.
This has been Christiana's ordeal, who for the past 2 years has been receiving dialysis treatment at the police hospital. She has had to defer her Bachelor's of Commerce course at the University of Cape Coast at level 200. Together with management of UCC and the executives of the Distant Education Student Association, the Vice-Chancellor of UCC, Professor Domwen Dabre Kulpol, presented the checks for 50 and 10,000 Ghana cedis, respectively, to Christiana. It was witnessed by the officials of the police hospital.
I cried to them, I gave them a letter, and they are coming to assist me with this one. I'm very grateful to them.
Christiana now has a donor and will need more money to cater for other expenses.
Watching the GTV news, we had already taken a decision to support her because she is our student, and as part of our corporate social responsibility, welfare issues, because we have what we call student support system. So we felt there was a need to run very quickly to assist her so she can undergo the surgery and regain her normal life, go back to her books and to her normal working life so she can continue to sustain herself.
Professor Kulpol commended GBC24 and GTV for exposing Christiana's plight to the public and appealed for more support to enable Christiana to undergo a successful transplant.
The first ever graduation ceremony of the Velisco Taylor Academy has taken place in Accra. Exclusive designs were showcased during the event.
The ceremony saw a glamorous fashion show with dresses designed by the graduates. A musician, Riala, gave a great performance to entertain the audience.
I wanna feel the heat, feel the soul. You make me dance, yeah, all night long.
13 graduates passed out of the Vlisco Taylor Academy, which started in August 2014. The managing director of Vlisco, Mr. Kofi Boateng, gave reasons for the establishment of the academy.
Our social and economic conditions make most African dreams remain just a dream. The position of women in this respect is worse. That is why we at Vlisco have made it part of our company purpose to facilitate women empowerment through training programs and through promotion of women entrepreneurship using the Vlisco Taylor Academy and the Vlisco Dream Fund that operates across Africa.
And thank you so much for staying on for the news. We'll be back at 10:30 with news tonight.